Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning for our sixth lesson on welcoming prayer, contemplative life studies. And grateful that you have joined me today. Those of you who are here and or on the Hobbes Institute, I want to welcome you all. Let us begin this day, as I always do, with a small prayer or a reflection from some books or the things that I'm reading. And again today, these are the words and inspiration of Mother Teresa called love. And so this is what she says: what you can do, we cannot do. And what we can do, you cannot do. But together, we can do something beautiful. Yes. What I can do or what you can do may be different, but together, if we put them all together, we can do something magnificent, something beautiful in this world. So we are continuing today. Thank you for joining. Today we are continuing on the study of the welcoming prayer method, that is movement 3. So in the last several sessions, we studied about the divine healer, who God is, and how we are healed when we are sitting in contemplation in prayer. And then again, we went into the aspects of centering prayer and how we have to sit in silence, choosing a sacred word, and how we use a sacred word to center ourselves and give ourselves into the hands of God without worrying about all the distractions that you and I may have. And so today we are going into the third movement of prayer, where, in the last session, we learned about that we sit in silence. I mean, during the day, as we are working, as what is going on in our life, we feel and sink into as the first movement. And the second movement was welcome, the sacred word, the use of the sacred word, welcome. So feel and sink into what is happening at this very moment. For that reason, we can say at this very moment, you and I are sitting together as one community in different parts of the world, and then we are reflecting on one thing, that how we can actually pray through every experience we are going through right now, in our isolation, in our fear, in our loneliness, even when we are excited and happy and sad. In all of that, God is present. And so we are saying in welcoming prayer, sink into that moment without analyzing what those things are. And then second part of that is, those experiences need to be welcomed intentionally. There needs to be an awareness that I'm welcoming this peace into my life at this time. So that's called welcoming. So the sacred word is welcome. And the third part of this, third component of the welcoming prayer, is what we are going to look into today, which is called the let go, letting go. So how do we let go? How do we practice letting go? So simple. It's very simple. As we learn in centering prayer, start saying this phrase or this sentence here: I let go of my desire for security, affection, control, and embrace this moment as it is. I let go of my desire for security, affection, and control. These are the three energy centers that motivates, that leads us to do the things that we do. I am letting that thing go. Now the question is Is it this simple to practice letting go? When we say, for all the experiences that you and I may have, can we simply let go of all the experiences, expectations, and our deep desires and longings and experiences of life and the things that we have? Can we easily let them go? And so in the movement 3, you will say, Meister Eckhart says, he who would be serene and pure needs but one thing: detachment. That the one who is serene and pure, that person also, and if we want to go beyond in our spiritual life, we need to practice letting go, which is another word for detachment. But I can tell you the word detachment is, it's not very comfortable for a lot of us. That word has its own negative connotation unless we attach ourselves with something else when we let go. The detachment requires to be attached to something else. The play of words in here, that if I am going to detach myself from something, do not leave that space vacuumed or completely empty. I need to fill it with something else. Letting go gets to the root of obstacles in the unconscious. So detaching helps us to get to a different place in our spiritual life. Ram Dass, one of the known teachers of spirituality who died recently, he says, in our Western culture, although death has come out of the closet, it is still not openly experienced or discussed. Allowing dying to be so intensely present enriches both the preciousness of each moment and our detachment from it. That is what is called letting go. That the moment, the preciousness of each moment comes from our ability to detach ourselves from it. And so allowing dying to be so intensely present enriches both the preciousness of each moment and our detachment from it. So, what is this? What is this word letting go? It is consenting to the transformative process that is happening in us. Letting go, therefore, is dismantling of our emotional programs for happiness and opening up to the healing of our unconscious. So remember, the emotional program happiness, that we are originally, our origins, our history, all that we have comes from God, and we have known God, we have experienced God, we came from God, we were carved in the palm of God. And from that experience, when we knew the glory and greatness and love and kindness and compassion of God, from there, when we came down to the earth, when we were born, and we were born into a new world, a young couple, and then the world of the young couple, and the expectations and anxieties and hopes of that young couple and their parents and grandparents and the neighbors around and our community eventually caused us to forget this absolutely beautiful experience we had prior to us being born on earth. And that process now, that has caused us to create a certain amount of false self, who we are, as what we are now, in a way have forgotten what we were, what we are supposed to be. Our internal worth, our beauty of who we are has been forgotten by the false self that we have created around us. And so letting go is a way of letting go of that false self. It's dismantling of our emotional programs for happiness, which we have convinced ourselves that we need this and that to be happy in our life. We need this and that to have control over our life. And so that's what we found earlier, that, as we were talking about in here, that the need for, I let go of my desire for security, affection, and control. And that's the false self that is causing it. And from there, we are going into this, transformation. Consenting to the transformation is dismantling the false self. Even if you feel changed with the first two movements, that is, feel and sinking into what is happening today. And then by saying the sacred word welcoming prayer, you may feel you are already changed with that, but don't stop there. So in welcoming prayer, what you are saying is, do not stop with the joyful experiences we may have when we practice it in the first two steps, to go farther, to become better, and to be transformed, we need to start practicing this letting go process or detaching ourselves. So, what is letting go? For me, the essence of the welcoming prayer is truly surrender. So Mary Morawski used to chuckle and say that welcoming was really surrendering. But for Westerners have such an aversion to the concept of surrender, we have to couch it in the words letting go. We don't like the word surrender. It feels like when we say the word surrender, we are losing control. And exactly the what we are talking about in welcoming prayer is that false self. We need to dismantle that false self. So to make it easier, instead of saying surrender, we started saying letting go. She also added, Mary Morawski also added, that the only thing our free will was good for was to surrender it back to God. The free will that you and I have, the best part of that is to give it back to God so that we go back into the pure self that we were when we were with God. We can't lose weight with it by surrendering it. We can't lose weight we cannot lose weight by surrendering ourselves to God. We cannot quit smoking by surrendering ourselves to God. We can't change ourselves or others with it. Nothing really changes until we truly let go and surrender to what is at this present moment, accepting who I am. And then we witness the miracles God has in store for us. This is Mary Dwyer, one of the originators and the person who promoted the welcoming prayer practice in life. And so she's saying that by letting go, we are not attaching anything with it. What we are doing is accepting the present moment as it is, whether it is pleasant, happy, joyful, angry, or disappointed, any of those moments, we are accepting those moments as is. But then why do we let go? Letting go is in order to be open to the will of God. We let go of our will so that we let God's will continue. We let go of who we are so that God can continue to work with us. So, to let go, we need to let go of all our attachments. Attachments is like the fly that is stuck to a fly paper. It's trying to escape, but it cannot escape. It's trying to fly away, but it cannot fly away because it's already attached to the glue that is on this fly paper. And so attachments are like that. And I used to hear this in the monastery all the time. The nail on the wall can cause the heavens, as the monks say about attachment. If we cannot let go, what is a nail on the wall? For example, if there is something that I'm so attached to, even if there is a nail on the wall in a particular place, there is a nail on which I hung my picture of something that I love, a scenery or a saint, and I'm so attached to that nail in that particular place that when someone else walks and tells me that is crooked, that doesn't look nice, and I am so upset with that individual, I'm so upset with someone else telling me what is wrong with that picture in their view, to the point that I am so stubborn, I will not move it even though the nail looks crooked. That's what we're talking about, called when we talk about attachment. The nail on the wall can cause you to lose the heavens because we are so attached to things that are mundane, that are small, that are not to be paid attention to as much, to the point that we are willing to break our relationships with people. Remember, a couple of days ago, or 3-4 days ago, Pope Francis said Christianity is a community of relationships. We are relationships. We are not rules and regulations and rubrics. Christians are relationships. That's exactly what this is. Attachment is to God in a relationship. Attachment is our care for one another around us. So detachment are the things from the world or from our expectation or from the things that we hold someone else responsible, or to the point that we are so pathetically sad because we didn't achieve the goal we wanted to achieve instantaneously. So anything that causes us not to live in the present moment is attachment. letting go of that is so necessary. And that process is called passing through the energy centers of safety, security, control. We are letting go. We are passing through them to the next stage, passing through the energy that stops us from becoming our best self, rather than denying it, rather than distracted by it. It is not hiding behind anything. It's going through the experience of life today. How good or bad that is, still, I'm generally passing through it. Remember, in centering prayer, this is something that we say very often, that the stream of consciousness is already there, and there are a lot of debris that pass through it. Let it pass through. Do not stop it, not worry about it, don't get upset about it, don't be distracted by it. Let it pass through the debris. All the debris pass through the stream of consciousness. In the same way, letting go is letting go through the experiences of our daily life, all that are going on. Letting go of everything. In addition to letting go of our attachments to the energy center programs, we also let go of our attachments to change anything. You know, sometimes when we spiritually grow, when we want to spiritually grow, this is what is going on. As we are trying to detach ourselves, we want it to happen right now. Our patience is so much that, oh Lord, I want patience, and I want the patience right now. So much for our patience prayer. And so we are letting go even our desire for change. We are going to live the present moment. And that's what the third movement of the welcoming prayer is. The desire for change is the desire to make things different, and denies the realities of the present moment of what it is. And that's why we need to let go of that attachment as well. So, and that's called path to transformation. Letting go rather than remaining attached to and imprisoned by. That's a key word. The more we are attached to, we are imprisoned by those things that we are attached to, whether it is name, fame, money, wealth, and whether it is good fortune, whether it is deep desire for our own transformation to the extent that we are not able to live the present moment. All of those are attachments. Our desire for change is the path of transformation offered through the prayer. So letting go rather than remaining attached to our desire for change is the path of transformation offered through prayer. So letting go, in the end, it is the most difficult thing to do for us to let go. It's the most difficult thing. We have a mind that tells us that we are right, everybody else is wrong. But we are right, and we know, our mind tells us that. Then we have emotions and feelings that sort of validate those thoughts. And what we need to do is to let go of whatever is happening on an interior level and surrender, so that we can see reality and what is actually happening, instead of perceiving through our thoughts and feelings. That's called sinking into that moment, feeling and sinking into that moment. And that's what Mary Morawski is inviting us to do: feel and sink into that moment and pass through those desires and experiences. And so that when we have any kind of such experience, any experience for that matter, maybe that's a trigger. Physical sensations that we have of any kind, for that reason, are triggers to welcome the Holy Spirit to that present moment. And so use the letting go statement to detach yourself from the world and attach yourself to God. So remember that earlier we said detaching alone is not enough. As we detach, we need to attach ourselves to something else. And that something else has to be God. And so detaching oneself from everything of our false self need us to move ourselves to the true self, which was the true self with God. And so letting go is an exercise of total, complete surrender into the hands of God, so that we truly become what we were and meant to be at the current present moment. which is what is a false self. It is our excessive need for security and survival, excessive need for affection and control, esteem, and excessive need for power and control. So, security and survival is necessary. We need to be safe and secure. Everybody in the world requires that. But when that gets more than what is necessary and needed, that's called excessive. When there is affection and esteem, when people cannot be satisfied with in faithfulness with one person or one community, and they are so fascinated by everything else in the world, that's called the need for affection and esteem by everyone else, but not the ones who are close to you. And the need for power and control, the best way maybe to look into the dictators in the world, people who will do anything and everything to hold on to the power or to be powerful in this world. Physical, emotional, sexual, psychological power over the other. Those are all signs of false self. Those are the energy centers people are led by. But when we become aware of that, when we let go of such desires, and when we let God walk into that, our detachment is from these, and our attachment is to the true self God has created us to be. And so, according to Pope Paul VI, the world calls for and expects from us simplicity of life, the spirit of prayer, charity towards all, especially towards the lowly and the poor, obedience and humility, detachment and self sacrifice. Without this mark of holiness, our world will have difficulty in touching the heart of the modern man. So, to touch the heart of the modern world, you and I we need to practice letting go. By doing that, we are transformed as people. So, in the end, welcoming prayer practice can be very simply practiced, easily practiced by doing this. Number one, sit, of course, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. We are used to spending time in prayer, that we choose a sacred word, we sit in silence, and ever so gently return to the sacred word when we are distracted or when we experience the sensations. And in the fourth step, we come out of that gently. And then there is a two periods, one in the morning and one in the evening. In welcoming prayer, what we are going to do is, if these are the bookends of life, of the day, the morning prayer centering time and the evening centering time, if those are the bookends of the day, then we are going to fill the remaining part of those, that central part of that day. That is, let us say, to give us an example, will be from, we did the centering prayer at 7 in the morning and 7 at night. Then we have 7:30 in the morning to 7 o'clock in the evening. That time we are introducing the movements, three movements, in which whatever is going on in our lives, when we are driving, when we are talking with people, when we are studying, when we are praying, when we are cooking, and when we are watching TV, become aware of it. This, in a way, I want to call it, have the Martha consciousness along with Mary's disposition. So, building a Martha consciousness and Mary disposition is what makes contemplative life powerful and beautiful. Even though Martha was busy with all kinds of things, which we started saying this at the very first introduction of this class. I said, Martha, Martha, why are you so worried about doing all kinds of things? Jesus asked, and look at Mary. Mary has chosen the better portion, better part. Did Martha choose those busy life, or or was she not aware of what she was doing and forgot the intention, the reason why she was doing what she was doing? I think the Lord was calling on her lack of awareness rather than what she was doing. And I believe to be a true contemplative in everyday life, active contemplative, meaning to say you and me, everyday people who work, go for work every day, and we do the things we do at home to care for our families, our children, our neighbors, our friends, our church community. We live a very active life. So if you and I, we are living a very active life, let us not be like Martha that Jesus calls her out on, that is Become aware of why you are doing what you are doing so that you can pay attention to the teachings that I am giving right here, or my silence in which you can hear the voice of God. And that's exactly what we are invited to. We are busy people, but become aware that God is in the midst of that busyness and anxieties and fears that we are going through. Thus, we truly become contemplatives in action at every moment. So, number one, we are bringing that awareness into our false self that has been developed after we were born, after we grew up, and then we are returning to our true self by sinking into, feeling and sinking into the moment of the time. Number two, by using the sacred word, which is called welcome or accept or receive. This moment I welcome into my life so that I become completely aware of what is going on in my life. And number three, letting go of the attachments to certain outcome and letting God walk into that space so that I'm totally free at this moment, even though I'm burdened and anxious and worried and excited and happy and celebrating my day. In the midst of all of that, God becomes fully present. This whole process is what we are talking about: welcoming prayer. Three movements of the welcoming prayer, that is, knowing what is going on now and sinking into. Number two, using the word welcome to accept those moments and accept the self awareness, and then passing through the energy centers without worrying about whatever is going on and accepting, which is called the process of letting go, which is detachment or surrender. So, when we use the word, when we say the prayer, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, that's what we are talking about. At this moment, Lord, use me as an instrument that creates the most beautiful melody in this world. I want to thank you for joining me this day for the continued study on welcoming prayer. And we will go into the seventh session next week, 10 o'clock, right here at the Hobbes Institute or wherever you are attending this class today, whether it is through live on YouTube or through the Hobbes Institute. And if you have not been part of these classes prior, you can access all the previous classes. At least there are 5 of them that has been uploaded to the Hobbes Institute, and it will be available for the next 2 months, and then all those classes will be taken down from that site, and it will be a program that is available to the public to keep up these class and by supporting the project that I'm on. So I hope you will be part of this whole process and support me and these classes and support the people who need these prayers and support. Thank you again. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. Start practicing welcoming prayer by accepting, feeling, and sinking into the moment, by using the word welcome, and by start saying the word letting go. Let God be in it. God bless you. Have a wonderful, beautiful day.